I woke up, half buried in filth, a pathetic sprout serving as a living bullseye for every bird in the sky. Centuries bled together until my trunk finally clawed into the clouds, turning me into a massive, world-eating titan. I expected eternal silence until I saved a dying hunter. 90 days later, things got incredibly weird. A thunderous roar shattered my peace as a pack of fur-clad locals crowded around my massive base. Before I could process the invasion, the man I'd rescued stepped right out from the center of the pack. He dropped to his knees, staring up at my canopy like he'd just seen the face of God. The man started screaming a rhythmic prayer while eating dirt, and the whole group followed his lead instantly. Dead silence followed. It took a second, but then the terrifying truth finally hit me like a ton of bricks. I gave my leaves a violent, intentional shake, and the moment that rustle reached their ears, they bolted up screaming with a terrifying manic joy. Their speech was total gibberish, but their energy was infectious. The vibe was so intense, the whole tribe decided to build their permanent home right in my shadow. I spent every day studying my new tenants, realizing my rescue project was actually the one running the show. He led the killers back from the woods, carving out beating hearts to pile at my feet. At first I was disgusted, but then the logic behind their bloody little game started to click. This was a sacred ritual, and those twitching organs were meant to be my payment in blood. To these people, a heart was everything, a gift to their wooden god left there to rot. They dumped the bodies near my roots. Fortunately, my skin naturally keeps the bugs from swarming. The sun turned the meat into leather, and honestly, that pile of dried-out guts was becoming a total eyesore. I shoved my roots through the soil, grabbing those leathery scraps and dragging them into the dark below. When the locals saw their offerings had vanished, the entire settlement descended into absolute feverish madness. Their leader slammed into the ground again, his people bowing as if I held their very souls in my hands. They wouldn't stand until I shook my branches, so these midnight burials became our grim, silent tradition. This became their reality, cementing my position as their undisputed, all-powerful master. Constantly, the old man gathered the whole family for a massive party dedicated solely to my existence. After years of eavesdropping, I finally cracked their code. Now I understand every single word they mutter. During the next big sacrifice, the guy I saved led the charge back into my shadow. I figured out he's called Yan Fung. These folks don't bother with last names or titles. Parents just look around and turn the first thing they see into a name for their kid. His name means Eastern Summit. Yan Fung stepped up, holding a bloody boar heart high for me. Dropping the gift, he started crying for safety, begging the spirits to keep his people alive. He begged for meat kills and healthy kids. I just groaned under the crushing weight of their impossible demands. They wanted a god. I never asked for the job, but I found ways to look out for them. Like making sure they didn't all die from some plague. My own biology kept them thriving, and before I could even blink, 10 years had just evaporated into nothing. The village hit 50 people, but one afternoon the hunters came back looking absolutely broken and empty-handed. They were carrying Yan Fung. Old age slowed him down, and some beast finished the job. They slumped his body against my bark. My only real companion was finally officially dead and gone. Some guy named Tiemu took the reins, but the tribe's insane obsession with my power didn't change one bit. If anything, it got worse. One night I felt a bizarre humming pulsing deep in my core. This wasn't some bug. It was raw liquid energy I could actually feel and move. The power was weak, and I had zero clue how to use it, despite constantly trying to tap in. After the next ceremony, that hum got louder. Was I actually feeding on their prayers? The math worked. Every time they prayed, my internal power grid got a massive, undeniable jolt. After some trial and error, I was sure this magic was powered entirely by their blind faith. Trouble is, there's no manual for being a god, so I'm stumbling through this divine life, totally blind. Pouring my essence into timber, utter failure. Dead air, hollow, I quit the dream. Years fly, painful effort, finally a spark. Wood warps, a jagged thorn pierces through. Not weeds petals, vitality at long last. 300 years of decay, magic now. My mistake, I staked my whole life. Hungry for gain, the bulb fattened slowly. Tucked away, savages must never find it. 12 long months of dark, frantic work. 1 year on the bloom unfurls softly. Gossamer leaves spending a whole palm. Hearts throb, birthing a terrifying new world. Cloying fumes drowned the entire valley. Panic strikes. Tiemu runs, losing his mind. Their boss halts, staring at my silhouette. This gorgeous gore, only a deity's work. The tribe gathers. Knees hit the dirt. Fierce devotion hits like a tidal wave. Their pain fuels me. Worship equals power. To beasts, this aroma is absolute law. Exuding honey, the air turns to syrup. An elder screams. His body begins shifting. Scars fade. Skin burns with fresh fire. Might floods a brittle, ancient skeleton. He bellows, "Our creator has returned." Tiemu barks, "Get down, eat the mud." He offers iron skin and endless days. Pure hysteria. Their prayers are their fix. Tiemu rise weeping, pleading for a title. "Protect us. We offer our very lives." Tiemu breaks. He's utterly burned out. Silence falls. I possess every single soul. This parasitic bond builds my divine crown. I flinch. Tiemu's gaze burns with fanaticism. The Grove clan rises, praise the Lord. Prayers echo, my shallow ego swells up. 300 quiet years end in screams. I thicken the musk, eyeing my captives. Perfume warps marrow, creating lethal monsters. Elders grow claws. Youths become serrated blades. I craft masters, then slip into shadows. They obey. My empire demands cheap labor, hiding the trap, waiting for the kill. Divine meat breaks every rule of nature. Deep within my core existence pulses like a heavy unspoken vow until that low-frequency drone starts vibrating through the stagnant air. A piercing rhythmic hum sounding like a bloodsucker hunting for a vein drills straight into my consciousness. I am desperate to flatten it, but my wooden shell keeps me prisoner. Even so, the impulse triggers a fierce phantom twitch. A heavy limb lurches forward, striking only empty space and defying every law since my very aroma is designed to be lethal to insects. How does this nuisance disregard my biology? I channel every ounce of focus into that strike, stalking the intruder. Shadows flicker before a golden streak appears, a lone bee staggering like a drunkard, fixated on my position. I hold steady, observing its awkward fluttering through the foliage as it searches for the delicate bloom cradled in my limbs. The irony strikes me, my own blossoming life is exactly what lured this irritating little parasite. It touches down famished for the sweet essence of my petal, not a chance. I whip a twig downward crack, burying it in the filth. Yet the insect is possessed, dragging its shattered body back toward my nectar with terrifying resolve. Snap, crackle, pop. A barrage of strikes finally breaks its spell, leaving the creature spiraling in a dizzy, buzzing haze. Where am I? Oh yeah, I caught the scent of paradise and followed it. I need that sugar. Where is the payload? It scans the area, catches the pale glimmer of my petals, and plunges in with suicidal determination. I'm coming for you, sweetheart. I release a silent howl of fury and strike the air once more. The nuisance finally halts, but rather than fleeing, it creeps into my crevices, taking up permanent residence on my skin. This defies nature. My evolutionary path turned this bark into a graveyard for anything with 6 legs. How does this thing ignore the toxin? Perhaps my strength has a ceiling. I will permit the little freak to stay. I could end its life in a second, yet I feel a strange primal connection to this relentless survivor. So I allow the trespasser to inhabit my hide. It departs at daybreak, always returning when the evening shadows lengthen, nightly, but proximity has not dampened its hunger. It still yearns for the nectar of my single sacred blossom. We engage in this lethal dance daily. It inches toward the reward, and I swat it back with a branch. I suspect it enjoys the agony. 30 days slip by, and my stunning flower finally transforms into a silver phantom. 5 ivory petals drift down. I intercept them before they touch the ground, refusing to let them go. Beneath the decay, the treasure swells a green sphere, already as large as a grown man's fist in its infancy. The anticipation is agonizing. I need to witness what celestial energy erupts once this massive fruit matures. If the petals cured the ailing, this fruit must be divine. And that cursed bee still patrols my side. Even without the lure, the bee guards my bark like a miniature feral sentry. I grant him his tiny kingdom. Then the forest erupts in noise. The Wood clan is fracturing 2 factions, screaming vitriol across the clearing. Execute the intruders. This great tree belongs to us by right, and no blood but our own shall touch its holy shadow. We must eradicate them, but the opposition pleads they are merely wanderers. One command will send them packing. Why resort to violence? We were once nomads roaming foreign territories, and those people did not slaughter us on sight. We are not murderers. We are better. When we migrated, we moved swiftly and showed respect to the locals. But these people lit fires and settled. This is not a journey. It is an occupation. They covet our land. They must perish. I catch every poisonous word, the gravity of their looming civil war tugging at my root system. Tiemu stands like a monolith between the flames, his stillness forcing both sides to plead even harder for his approval. He holds the ultimate power. A single command from the chief will either bathe the woods in blood or let them rest easy. Give us the word, chief. What is our path? The question lingers, but Tiemu is gazing toward some unseen horizon. Hesitation clouds his eyes. He raises a palm, silencing the mob. This decision poisons our spirit and offends the mother tree. I shall seek an omen from the sacred tree. Its decree is our absolute law. A chilling quiet descends. Why rely on a mortal when you can interrogate a deity? They are coming for me. Panic surges through my sap. I am merely a tree. How am I the arbiter? I lack the voice to halt this massacre. I absorb their speech like rainfall, yet I am a voiceless god confined within a prison of timber. I could carve my intentions into the soil, but these primitives have not even conceived of an alphabet yet. They are at the dawn of consciousness. My intellect is paralyzed without a medium for communication. I search for a strategy. Speech is merely physics, vibrations, and frequencies. I lack vocal cords, but a billion fibers are primed to scream. Simple noise is beneath me. Mere rustling lacks gravity. Wood cracking signals nothing. I need real conversation. This silence is a cage. I require human anatomy. If air over fibers makes speech, I'll grow lungs. The blueprint finally settles. Time to start the build. I pump stolen prayer energy to swell my grain. I'm carving a larynx from memory. Progress is slow. Fueled by devotion, my internal growth surges violently. Vibrating folds of meat-like wood form in my core. I hollow out bellows to drive my new breath. The first breath fails. I'm still too rigid. I grind away until the timber feels strangely springy. Ordinary oaks would splinter. I am a god sapling. After dozens of failures, my wooden throat finally groans. It isn't human. It's a jagged, sentient wooden flute. A dark tunnel with membranes trembling under high pressure. Rhythm is agony. I hide these mods deep inside. I must remain silent. Then Tiemu approaches my roots. Spirit, I'm lost. The old ones are blind. Guide me. I'll make every tribe bow to your holy name. That dark confession catches me completely off guard. I didn't expect such hunger. More fanatics mean power. The kid is sharp. I craft a divine answer. I drop a jagged limb. Tiemu hits the mud. He buries his face, too terrified to even twitch. A bit dramatic, but I have work. I scratch signs. The sketch is finished fast. The point hits home. He's still cowering. I tap him. He looks up. I point down. Tiemu stares at my fresh carving. It shows me ruling broken men. He gets it. I see the way. I'll bring them to worship you. I rustle in consent. He bolts toward the village. He rallies the elders, preaching my vision with fire. Doubters vanish once they think I blessed the slaughter. I watch the war party march into the dark. Faith is a gamble. You can't force gods overnight. Blood will spill. I have bigger plans than war. I focus on my voice, refining pipes in secret. Flutes are too pretty. I need the grit of speech. Insect clicks feel wrong. A god shouldn't sound alien. Finally, I build a system for human phonetic patterns. After 100 practice rounds, I master the controls. 6 days pass. The boy hasn't come back yet. Bored, I slide a speaking branch toward a resting bee. A perfect synthetic hum vibrates through the damp air. Spasming dying vermin, mocking its prey. Total freak show. Massive. Vile. Wrong. Forest provides cover. Tiemu slinks away. Operations completely blown. Why freeze up? Grunts must win. Who goes there? Boss, I choked. Confess. Tiemu pales. Stalking the silence. I'm called Woods. You speak. Service bought favor. Maintain the mystery. Talk, then hush. Rituals grow noisy. Worship breaks souls. Tiemu's totally entranced. Tiny yet defiant. Explain the loss. A spectral sentry. Sacred feels sinister. Ebony shell deity. Small idol stirs. Tiemu blathers on. The chief refused. Tough little shield. Leave or die. They chose violence. War starts. Strategy was junk. Skin stays tough. Defense stood firm. Needing more power. Stuck, quite frankly. Pick one. Enjoy the blossoms. Witness these flowers. 5 left. New dark arts. Eat it. Hear me. Silence. True command never flinches. The moment I speak, Tiemu's lungs seize his breathing, turning into a panicked, shallow wreck. He cradles that petal like it is made of priceless heirloom glass before forcing it down his throat in one frantic gulp. His eyes snap wide the second it touches his tongue, desperate for my voice to provide some sense of divine purpose. That bloom was distilled from 1,000 shattered prayers. Calling it a common plant would be an absolute insult. Squeezing his eyes shut, he feels a massive tidal wave of raw energy slamming through his entire circulatory system. It is a nostalgic scent, dialed up to a deafening roar, violently dragging him back into the depths of his own history. He starts wondering if those old myths were actually legit, and the sheer weight of that realization completely shatters him. He looks at me like I am his only salvation. Suddenly, a massive surge of total devotion hits my very soul. This one man's conviction carries more weight than 100 ancient rituals. I watch his body tremble beneath me. He's the heart of this power surge. If faith were real estate, he would be living in the penthouse suite. Something ancient and nameless starts digging into his ribs. He cannot quite place the melody of the rhythm, but it is there. That pulse is stitching him back together. Every beat makes him feel like he could literally level a mountain range. I can feel the shift happening too. A permanent tether of shared blood locks us together in a single heartbeat. This is no drug trip, it is physical. He feels like a literal limb growing out of my own wooden core. He keeps his own soul, though. I can track his every move, but I cannot pull his strings. Then his eyes ignite. He bolts upright and screams at the sky, a sound so primal it makes my entire canopy shudder. A nasty green mist starts leaking from his skin, swirling around him like a ghost of old music and smoke. Deep in that haze, a shimmering image of my own trunk appears. He finally sees the truth of his new form. The villagers hear that howl and pour out of their huts like hornets from a kicked nest. They charge in with spears, but they freeze solid the moment they see him glowing like a brand new god. "What happened, boss?" Tiemu just squeezes his hand, tasting the lightning before letting out a dark, low laugh. He cuts the laughter short, hits the dirt on both knees, and looks up at me with a voice like grinding stones. "Thanks for the power-up, Great One. I'm going to go end the enemy now." The crowd finally sees reality. I am the source of this miracle. Every single person there drops to the ground in instant worship. I am not running a charity, though. I only have 4 petals left, and I will not be blooming again for a long time. These little scraps of plant life are way more dangerous than I ever bargained for when we made this deal. I will call this link the blood root. It feels like some twisted umbilical cord locking our destinies together. The name fits. Tiemu heads out, totally fixated on putting the rival leader's head on a spike. Once he is out of sight, I realize I can still feel his pulse thrumming through the entire forest floor. That is the blood root doing its thing. Then that familiar buzz returns. My little scout has finally come home. But the poor little guy is a total wreck. My tiny wingman is essentially a broken song completely ruined. He is soaked in someone else's blood with one leg shattered. He took a hit he was never meant to survive. He crawls into a crack in my bark and goes cold. I try to tell myself he's just sleeping it off. 24 hours pass without him moving an inch. He looks like a hollow shell, completely empty. I get ready to push him into the dirt for a final goodbye. He was the only friend I had. The moment I brush against his wing, one tiny leg gives one last desperate kick for life. He fights just to look at me, and I'm suddenly swallowed by a wave of pure cold terror. He's begging me. He's not ready to go into the dark. He would be my slave just to stay alive. I give in. The catch: I am a tree, not a doctor. I do not have the tools to raise the dead. I go with my gut and shove a bolt of raw energy straight into his tiny, thrumming chest. He drinks in the power, but nothing happens. His life is still leaking out all over my bark. Brute force will not fix this. I need a cure. Then I remember that life-filled scent from the flower. I focus every single bit of my will, forcing a tiny bud to grow no bigger than a grain of dust. Because it is so small, it only takes a second to force the thing to blossom. A thick, sweet scent fills the air. The bee moves instantly, even though his body is still completely trashed. One jagged leaf gave a final haunting shudder as its inner light flickered on the verge of death. I drained my own soul into the petal until a glowing heavy bead of syrup slid down the creature's gullet. As it swallowed, an eerie emerald mist seeped from its exoskeleton, looking exactly like the weird vapor trailing Tiemu. Could they be connected? I got my answer when the smoke started dancing with a strange, deliberate rhythm. Those broken wings were knitting themselves back together instantly. I was right. The radiance just deleted the trauma. The beast stood up at last, tested its flight muscles, and hitched a ride on a thermal toward the sun. Absolutely unreal. Victory tasted sweet knowing these blooms I sacrifice for possess such brutal restorative strength. But a thought hit me, is there a shortcut? Coaxing these flowers to open is draining the life out of me. Scanning my own frame, I wondered if I could just channel that juice straight through a branch instead. I tried it, and seconds later a thick bead of neon green resin pulled at the tip of my wooden skin. My little test subject was still circling, so I signaled it to land for a bit of live experimentation. I offered the goo. It took a sip, and that familiar green shimmer exploded. Fluid type didn't change the results. A jolt of pure energy hit me. I'd engineered this breakthrough myself through nothing but gritty persistence and luck. I had outgrown my roots to become a living temple, a behemoth with the power to fix anything shattered. Once the rush faded, our bond solidified into something much cleaner than the chaotic link I had with Tiemu. Our minds fused into one, communicating through deep, vibrating tones that became instant crystal-clear concepts. Not a bad start. You're my heavy hitter now, responsible for patrolling the perimeter and keeping watch. Bzz. As you wish, Holy One. Lose the title. From here on out, it is just boss. You need a name, do you not? Let's try Goldenwick. That is perfect. I finally feel like a real person. Today marked Goldenwick's birth as I christened my new recruit and formally brought him into the fold. Tell me, Goldenwick, what can you actually do? Boss, I just bite, but my jaws can snap through steel. Nothing stands a chance against my teeth. It sounded a little underwhelming, so I knew he needed an upgrade. Goldenwick, with my spirit flowing through your veins, do you feel a heat starting to burn deep inside? I was trying to unlock his dormant power to turn him into a monster. He shut his eyes and searched within. After a few moments, wisps of emerald vapor began rising from his frame, and I felt a spark of optimism. The energy was present, but the green vanished, replaced by a violent, molten gold radiance that demanded to be let out. That caught me off guard. It seemed the little fellow was sitting on a huge reservoir of his own secret strength. This amber glow looked like mine, but was different. He'd tapped into an old dormant force buried in his DNA. Soon the gold light swallowed him up, and I watched his physical form start to twist inside that brilliant sphere. The gargantuan nightmare silhouette of a massive predator hornet began to take shape through the haze. He blinked, trembling, as he stared at his terrifying new reflection. Boss, what has I become? That is your inner strength, I told him. It is yours now. Use it wisely. That is your first assignment. He nodded, still dazed and unsteady. I'd pushed his limits as far as they could go for one afternoon. I was still flying blind, but a question stuck with me. Why was his transformation so much cleaner than Tiemu's? Tiemu's spirit form was nothing more than a cheap imitation of my own bark-covered appearance. Goldenwick's form reflected his actual soul. Perhaps human ego, or their weird anatomy, just messes the process up. I would need to investigate that. He sucked the light back in and said, Boss, I have got to fly. Going for a kill, go ahead. Just stay on call. He took off his wings, making a deep, threatening hum. Actually, boss, I want revenge. Yesterday, a serpent tried to jump me while I was out gathering. It tried to hijack my meal, and I barely escaped with my life. I froze, stunned. A snake. What do you even eat? If it breathes, it is food. Fruit larvae bugs, if I can take it down, it is dinner. Well, hell, I thought I saved a harmless bee, but I'd actually recruited a stone-cold killer. It makes sense. Some insects are just natural-born hunters. I'd totally misjudged him, but we were locked in. I warned him to be careful. A viper is a one-way trip to the grave, and it is likely long gone by now. But Goldenwick just muttered, Boss, I know exactly where that spineless bastard is hiding. Our bitter rivals have a massive hive right on our doorstep. Goldenwick's intel is a total gut punch that changes everything. I told my scout to bury the hatchet. We've got a job to do. Scope out their ranks and see who they're bowing down to. Just give me the raw data. To win, we have to stay 10 moves ahead. We're expanding so quickly that a collision with our neighbors was bound to happen. Information is how we dominate, whether through words or war. My scout takes wing. I watched the silhouette fade, knowing those snake breeders were a ways off. From 50 meters up, the world looks like a toy set through my eyes. No other huts in sight, but a jagged cliff is masking their base. A small stream snakes around the peak where those nomads set up shop. Hundreds of years ago, when I first took root, that river was barely a trickle. Eons etched that canyon deep, just like my own slow crawl to power. Tiemu hits their junk pile of a settlement, nothing but a few sad shacks. Screams erupt. The men grab their pikes while the moms scramble to hide the kids. The elderly are nowhere to be seen, that hellish journey already weeded out the frail. Tiemu bellows a challenge demanding the boss pay up on an old score. I'm going to snap you in half and force you to kneel. Pancham emerges, his face twisted in pure, unadulterated loathing. He hisses back that his deity is every bit as lethal. Tiemu laughs off the threat, itching to flex his own muscle. He's ready to tear things up. Their gazes collide like a car wreck. The clans form a ring as the two enemies hoist their rock spears. The leader lunges first, but Tiemu parries the blow with a heavy thud. They spring apart and lunge again in a frantic, rocky ballet. My fighter's lungs are bottomless. He has not even broken a sweat yet. Pancham stumbles, but his hide is as thick as a grizzly's. A clean shot barely leaves a mark on his leathery skin. It is a carbon copy of their last stalemate, a brutal grind to the finish. Tiemu realizes brawn is not enough, so he taps into my core energy. He funnels that dormant strength into his veins like a bursting levee. A nasty snap echoes as he sends the chief tumbling backward. Pancham scrambles up, but the sight in front of him freezes his blood. An emerald glow takes my shape, draping Tiemu in phantom timber. He plants his feet, splintering the ground before he rockets forward. The terrified boss tries to parry, but Tiemu comes down like a meteor. The collision vaporizes the stone spear just before the finishing strike. Pancham is driven into the dirt, wheezing for every breath. Panic sweeps through his people as they haul their broken commander away. Between gasps, he rasps out one command, unleash their beast. A few soldiers dash back to camp, praying for a Hail Mary. Tucked away by the water is a dark, putrid pit of filth. A massive, soot-colored turtle rests there, looking as innocent as a boulder. They drop to the ground, begging the ancient armored titan for a bloodbath. The titan stirs its ancient eyes, fixing right on them. The chief ordered us find you, then slay that nightmare. That ancient husk barely flinches, but the crew holds it from the muck anyway. On the ridge, Tiemu hides his blade as that lethal mist sinks away. My kin howl for blood, but Tiemu just shrugs, gesturing toward my canopy. Honor the wood, he screams, pivoting his fury toward the enemy's dying fires. The game is finished. You traded your soul to the root for all eternity. Caked in gore, Pancham sneers at Tiemu, swearing their phantom still bites. Tiemu's eyes turn lethal. Try me. Instantly, every steel edge in camp finds light. My pack surges, but Tiemu stands firm. One wrong breath from a massacre. Tiemu looks like hell incarnate. Last warning, move. Then the shell draggers break through. Pancham spots that obsidian shell and wails, divine protector, wipe them from existence. Tiemu's muscles lock. That deathly vapor starts bleeding out of his pores again. Without a sound, the horror strikes sinking teeth into Pancham's arm. The guards lose their grip, the beast hits the dirt and vanishes into the black. Pancham watches his god flee, choking on air. Cowards drag it back here. Tiemu's aura turns dark, he gives the signal and the two factions collide. Under Tiemu's cold stare, that dark carapace slips into the river and sinks away. It's over fast. Tiemu looms over the bleeding wreckage with a wicked smirk. Plot twist, the very god you worshipped just abandoned your pathetic soul. Their history is ash. Pancham chokes on his own blood eyes, turning to glass. Tiemu discards the body like waste, driving the survivors toward our twisted home. I watch from the heights as Tiemu struts back like he owns the world. A line of hollow men drags behind him. Their past died in those flames. They'll serve us soon. Tiemu leads the broken remnants to my gnarled base. Feast your eyes on our lifeblood, the eternal root. Meet your new master. They fall, their hollow prayers echoing through the woods. I get it. You can't force a man to believe in 24 hours. They'll learn. Once the ritual ends, Tiemu breaks them into our daily labor. We were 61. Add 32 more, and our count hits 93. Deep in the night, Tiemu leans against my bark. Great root, are you there? I'm eternal. Being a tree doesn't allow for 8 hours of rest. I just drift through the centuries. Speak, I rumble deep in the wood. Elder, Tiemu beams, I'm nothing without your divine hand guiding my blade. I'm mulch without you. So why are you bothering me at midnight? He finishes his tale, then asks if gods truly leave their kin. He's trembling. He's terrified I'll get bored one day and leave his people to rot. I let out a hollow creak. If I stopped your heart, would you find another? His face drains of color. He collapses, pressing his face into the cold dirt. I am yours forever. I lift him with a branch. Relax. It was just a thought. You see the reality now. Tiemu stands there, pulse hammering like a war drum. I stay silent. Does he even dare imagine a life without me? No chance. Listen, you might pick your master, but the master has to choose you too. If you turn into trash, I'm gone. Ask our new pets why they're god bit. Tiemu nods frantically. I'll find out. Hush, everyone is sleeping. Wait for the light. I stop his frantic retreat. He bows one last time. Sleep well, great root. Tiemu peels out of here like he's got a death wish. It wasn't a departure, it was a frantic escape. I wonder, am I really that frightening? I'm just a tree, for crying out loud. I shake off the nerves and watch the stars. The sky is unnervingly clear, showing two moons that look like cheap cardboard props in a low-budget flick. When the lights go out, the moon hangs in a hollow, starless void. Most folks are blind to it, but my old memories won't let me forget. For the locals who've never seen the edge, this fake horizon is the only ceiling they've ever known. To them, it is just reality. I turn my focus back down to the rotting mud. The Wood Clan is dead to the world, and rhythmic snoring drifts over from the dark shell camp. A heavy thud rips through the midnight quiet by the water. I feel a massive tank of a turtle slicing the current. The Things is a mountain. Could this be the big-shot deity from the Dark Shell bedtime stories? Tiemu said it was headed for the bank. Going on pure instinct, I lash my limbs toward the shore like a whip. These aren't just twigs, they're raw energy switching from soft silk to reinforced steel in a heartbeat. I call them my ghost vines. The beast doesn't stand a chance before I'm hammering against its ancient plate. It tries to submerge, but I've got it in a vice grip. One yank and it is airborne. The turtle snaps its jaws, desperate to chew through me and sink back into the dark. But I'm no sapling. I flex my will and my branches harden into industrial-grade carbon fiber. It's like trying to bite a skyscraper. All it gets for the effort is a mouthful of shattered enamel. I hoist it into my branches, weaving a cage of thick greenery. The thing fights me every inch of the way. It's about 1 meter across, coated in a deep oily black. This creature matches Tiemu's description of the Dark Shell Guardian down to the very last detail. I'm dying to know if this thing really gave those fanatics their freakish strength and iron skin. I try to hijack its brain the same way I did with Goldenwick. Not sure if it works on cold-blooded heads. So, are you the big god the Dark Shells worship? I beam the thought straight through my roots. The tortoise goes rigid. Bingo, we're on the same frequency, but it just stares, giving me the cold shoulder. Music. Talk to me, I can sense your mind. The second I finish it, tucks tail and hides in its shell. I didn't expect a god to be such a coward. I wait until a faint buzz hits me. That was a lifetime ago. Those people are all gone now. Please, I'm just a nobody. Let me walk. Just look at me. I'm nothing but bone. I'd taste like literal trash. If you're hungry, I'll catch you fish instead. I will bring you fresh fish daily. Just don't kill me. I cut the feed right there. It was just endless, pathetic whimpering. Look, I will let you go, but you need to chill out first. I have questions. I send the ping and go radio silent. A minute later, it peeks out, checking for an ambush, before halfway showing its face again. Music. You are the one who gave that tribe their juice. It gives a slow nod. That was on them, not me. I didn't have a choice. I'm floored. Bullied by cavemen, give me a break. The turtle starts leaking tears. I'm a simple bottom feeder, okay? I'm nothing compared to something like you. I was just minding my business in the creek when they snatched me up and made me their mascot. I tried to run. I tried to hide. But they tracked me down every single time. Then they brought out the soup pot. I only played along because I didn't want to end up as dinner. Are these tribal people really that heartless? Hearing its sob story, I realize its life has been a living hell. At least my people aren't like that. I think back to the first time they found my trunk. They asked for help, but if I'd said no, would I be in a cage too? At least he can crawl. I'm stuck. I don't even have feet. If things go south, I can't exactly run for it. A cold wave of dread hits me. I cannot live like this. The Wood Clan is nice today, but what about tomorrow? I'm not leaving my survival to chance. Leverage is the only currency I deal in now. This fossil just keeps on yapping. Being their idol meant 5-star service. They hand-delivered every single meal. I offer a cold, robotic nod. Sounds like my arrangement with the Wood tribe. Then the greed started to spiral. This was the intel I was hunting for, the only reason I tracked this crawler down. Eventually I snapped. I gave them some blood to shut them up. Big mistake. That blood turned them into monsters, unstoppable tanks. That was the extent of my supposed gift. They were leeches. That scrap I gave Tiemu was my own flesh. My people are turning dark. That thought chills me to the bone. My guts twist with pure sickening terror. When you were their god, did you feel a change inside? The turtle nods slowly. A fire lit up. A heat I still feel. What are we dealing with exactly? I call it soul fuel, raw power that drains into us from their creepy rituals. Soul fuel, I like it. You are sharper than you look. I let out a dry hacking laugh. This lizard is playing me trying to suck up to stay alive. Enough talk. What is your next move? He sighs. Just finding a hole to die in, I guess. Join me. Out there, some predator will just turn you into turtle soup. I am vulnerable and need protection. I have a scout. Now I need a heavy hitter. The turtle looks up, terrified. Do I even have a choice here? I wanted a partner, but he thinks my offer is a death sentence. Relax. You are free. He looks at the vines and nods, eyes full of fear. I'm serious. Get out. He does not buy my nice guy act for a second. I drop him in the water. He promises food daily. I ignore the lie. Better to keep him close, but not too close. Silence brings back the heavy thoughts. Looking at the tribe below my human past makes me dangerously weak for them. That sentimentality is exactly why I gave Tiemu that piece of me without thinking. But the turtle's story changed everything. To these people, I am just a battery. If they get stronger than me, I am toast. But I still need them. Their prayers are the only thing fueling my growth right now. It is a tightrope now. No more freebies, but no walking away either. Next morning, Tiemu grills the newcomers about their old god. I watch them. Their story matches the turtles' every bloody, horrific word of it. They were parasites sucking their protector dry for every bit of power. Tiemu looks like he just swallowed a mouthful of jagged glass. He stands alone under my canopy. Sacred tree, he finally whispers. I know they betrayed him, but... Tiemu's face turns to stone. The Wood Clan will never do that to you. I stay perfectly silent. He kneels in the dirt. I swear on my life no one hurts you. As he speaks, a surge of soul fuel hits me. It is warm, real. One man's oath won't stop nature, but I shake my leaves to show I am listening. Tiemu leaves quickly. Being chief is hard work. By dusk, Goldenwick returns and lands high up. Boss, I am back. Report. The bird gets serious. The snake people call themselves the Serpent Clan. Their god is a massive viper 500 meters out. It is a monster boss. He flies in a 2-meter wide circle. My heart drops. If it is that big, it is not a snake. It is a nightmare. Vipers always show their fangs eventually, feed a beast enough worship, and it might just become a god if the world allows it. My scouts back with the warning 200 warriors are backing the opposition. Elite killers are stalking the ridges, their blades dripping with liquid death. A cold dread sinks in. Those serpent cultists are a waking nightmare. They've got double our numbers and massive muscle. My people would be slaughtered. We need to scale up fast. My play trade, the hunt for the plow. Right now, we're barely scraping by on forest scraps and small game. Scavenging won't build a nation. I'm playing the long game for the right moment. While they starve, I'll weaponize their own devotion against them. Before, I only used ironwood vines to choke out minor nuisances. I can patch a gash or grow blooms that turn men into titans, but those are just doctor tricks useless in a real bloodbath. Centuries have passed, and I still haven't forged a true nuke. Winter is the great reaper. The game vanishes and the ground turns to stone. The larders are bone dry, the woods are deathly silent. Starving for protein, Tiemu pushes the group into the dead zones while I watch. As the mercury bottoms out my power spikes, I finally see why. Hunger breeds zealots. Their frantic pleas are high-octane fuel for my ego. The Arctic wind is brutal, 5 days with empty bellies, total hopelessness. That's when Leshy, that silver-tongued rat, makes a play for the throne. Chief, we're finished. The kids are fading. Tiemu's face is a brick wall. The weight of command is crushing him. Then Leshy whispers, "Why not the tree?" Tiemu bristles. "Our god watches our souls. We don't beg like dogs." "He's our shield," Tiemu growls, "but we don't whine to him about the weather. We still have a fight in us. The woods still offer gifts even without a kill." He's talking about chewing on timber and dead leaves to stay alive. He thinks raw grit is enough. He looks at the coward with pure disgust. Don't pester the divine with trifles. But Leshy is just getting started. He starts working the other prisoners, planting the seeds of a mutiny. Bitter and broken, the outcasts despise Tiemu, and Leshy is ready to exploit that. Driven by the agitators, a toxic rumble ripples through the camp. Tiemu returns empty-handed and half-frozen. Leshy and a mob block his path. "Nothing again, Chief. You really expect us to live on sawdust?" Tiemu eyes the rebels. A spark of rage ignites in his hollow gaze. Is that right? If the soup is too thin, go bag your own deer. The faithful bark back. Yeah, go freeze your tails off if you're so smart. Out of my way, but Leshy doesn't budge, his eyes full of spite. The hook is set. I told you how to fix this. Call on the god. Make the tree provide. No more grazing on sticks like cattle. The mob erupts. The tree. Let the Great Spirit fill our guts. He has the power, lead us, Tiemu cedes. He knows it's a coup. He stomps his foot, making the earth tremble. The mob goes dead quiet. He clocks every disloyal face in the bunch. Is this what you really want? Leshy sneers, you bet it is. Tiemu smiles back, and it's terrifying. Flush out every last soul. We make the great wood by sunset. Leshy is a wreck, silently begging the ancient root to stay dead. Failure means the end. He's convinced miracles are just fairy tales. Can Bark serve dinner? He's eyeing my limbs like cordwood. I'm just rotting weight to him. Now the whole tribe huddles. Tense whispers half crave a meal, others expect a grave. Chief Tiemu takes the lead, hitting the mud to start the rite. I smell the rot. This worship feels thin and totally staged. Faith died of two things, Leshy's lies and a year of silence. Half is his bile, the rest is bitterness from being ghosted. Tiemu spills his soul begging for a break before the kids die. Great guardian, hear us. Fill our bellies or we are finished. He goes quiet, and a massive tremor ripples through my core. That crack shocks the crowd. The skeptics are frozen stiff. Dread takes root, yet they claim it was only a breeze. I must fix this. I shatter the void with one name, Tiemu. Tiemu hits the dirt, weeping as the clan falls apart behind him. Terror grips the lot. Their silent god just broke their reality. Just a plant face down, Tiemu smirks at their total panic. Now they see the truth. I let the thunder roll. You want food. Tiemu nods, admitting the bins are dry and death is coming. Half prayed for a feast. My limbs sweep across the heavens. Only believers eat. Every eye snaps wide with raw desperation. This actual miracle ignites a fanatical streak in their souls. His loyalty is iron. I command him line them up for judgment. Purity picks the portions. My word is law. No more masks. The faithful will feast. The skeptics go to bed starving tonight. The rebel leaders melt away, knowing the game is up. I can read their minds. The fakes know they are getting zero. Their betrayal is about to be exposed to everyone. Hunger is easy. They face exile for their toxic lying hearts. Tiemu front and center. He crawls forward, bowing low. A tidal wave of pure uncut worship floods into my spirit. I drop the hidden catch on a vine. The whole village gasps. This silver pile was a tribute from a loyal diving turtle. He promised one daily, but brought a whole river's worth. Since I do not eat, I cured and hid the hole inside. If they are smart, this stash lasts them until the soul. Tiemu takes his share and makes way for the next soul. It continues, but the spiritual buzz from the others is weak. Rations shrink. Leshy steps up, his heart beating like a drum. His tribute is a joke, barely a blip on my radar. I dig out one tiny scrap while his terror reaches boiling. He finally snaps, sobbing a confession into the wet dirt. I was a fool, blinded by spite. I only beg for mercy. Please, I'm begging you. I blew it. I'll be your dog, your shadow, whatever you want. Just let me live. Enough of this whining. Tiemu, grab him. Throw him in the hole and let the dark eat him. Tiemu snaps to nodding at the brutes. They drag Leshy toward the black pits while I weigh his life. Watching them, it hits me we need real cages. Iron bars speak way louder than threats ever could. But this tribe is just walking ghosts. Building a jail is impossible when everyone's starving to death anyway. Leshy's gone, so Tiemu gets back to the depressing job of splitting up our last few scraps. The grain bin bottoms out. Tiemu shoves the starving ones back inside and slides the deadbolts home. I feel their fear morphing into something religious. Total control is finally within my grasp. I'm no longer just wood and leaves. I'm the nightmare they can't mention, something way more dangerous. I clear everyone out but Tiemu. He smells the blood in the air. A dark new era starts now. Master, what's next? I just stare at him, asking if he knows why our whole world is decaying. His head sinks. I messed up, he wheezes. I let the rebels thrive while we turn to dust. Damn straight it's on you. I lean back, watching the last spark of hope vanish from his stare. Kill me then, he sighs. My laugh sounds like dry leaves, sending a shiver straight down his spine. Easy now, you're not dead yet. But tell me, why is every single stomach here touching their backbone? He stammers some garbage about low deer counts. I just groan at his pathetic lack of vision. Cut the crap. Tiemu, have you ever actually looked at the tiny seeds right under your boots? He looks blank. The man spent years tracking blood, never once noticing the dirt he's walking on. The girls get it, but his ego blinds him. Fine, I'll walk him through it myself. Picture burying those seeds in the muck after the frost breaks. What do you think happens then? They'd grow, he mutters. Exactly. I can almost hear the rusty gears in his head finally grinding. One speck of grain turns into a feast. Feed the soil a body, and it feeds everyone. Can you feel that weight? He stands there paralyzed as the light bulb finally flickers on. One seed, one massive meal. His breath catches like he's seeing fire for the very first time. Master, no more starving. We'd survive the snow. This is a miracle. He's sold. Now he's basically praying for the thaw so he can start digging in the mud. Dreams are cheap, though. Farming is a brutal, soul-crushing slog that eats the weak alive. These idiots don't know a hoe from a twig. I'll have to walk them through every step. I could let them guess, but they'd be bone-dry corpses before they learned a thing. No time for that. Tiemu, bring me the smart ones. I'm forging them into something different. I'll beat the secrets of the harvest into them. By spring, they'll be my true acolytes. He turns to run, but I stop him cold. Wait, it's a long freezing winter ahead. Plenty of time to teach. By dawn, he's back with 3 kids ready for the heavy lifting. There may be 12 or 13 basically old folks in this miserable dump we call home. Boys hunt and girls pop out babies. That's just the ugly truth when you're living on nothing. Most hit the dirt by 30. Making it to 50 is a rare miracle for the lucky few. My power toughened them up, but they're still just flickers of light in a hurricane. 2 girls, 1 boy. The runt is already whining before they even hit my inner circle. Why am I digging dirt? I want to hunt. Tiemu levels him with a brutal backhand. Shut it, Tiemu snarls. A god's talking. Do you realize how damn lucky you are? Want to leave? Fine. There's 12 more starving brats dying to take your place. The boy shuts up the moment Tiemu balls his fist. He isn't quite that dumb. The girls giggle behind their palms, loving every second of the boy getting put in his place. Tiemu grabs them. Bust your tails, he barks. Screw up and the great tree handles you. Yeah, whatever the kid grumbles, because trash-talking a murderous spirit is a great survival strategy. Temu's stare turns lethal. Say that again. The kid winces, then plasters on a mask of fake devotion. I'll trade my soul for your ancient secrets, great spirit, beneath your sacred shadow. A phantom laugh ripples through my bark as I dismiss Tiemu. These 3 kids belong to me now. These children were raised on myths, their souls already woven into my gnarled ancient heart. Sure gripes about the tracking, but being my student feeds a craving deeper than hunger. The trial begins with questions. The girls name the deities. Showa just stands there, looking completely lost. We start with the essentials, survival or death. Bayun's voice trembles as she finally finds her courage. Spirit, we've eaten everything. The stores are empty. There isn't one seed left for the earth. I shed a massive branch, its leaves weaving into a heavy sack filled with every seed imaginable. To own the land, you must be prepared. I had Goldenwick scouring the wilds for months. An entire season of stolen life, a mountain of exotic flora from far beyond our borders. Goldenwick's loyalty paid off. The kids are paralyzed mouths agape at the scale of my power. They can't fathom how a rooted tree holds so much. I let the silence do the talking. Mystery is a powerful chain. With seeds in their palms, the work of evolution finally begins. After the drills, I sharpen their focus. They learn with a terrifying, frantic kind of speed. Then the real labor starts. I make them gouge the riverbank, scarring the earth with crude tools. This mud is their classroom, the cradle of a new world once the winter frost thaws. The tribe huddles by the shore, whispering like dry leaves as the kids tear the ground. I drive the trio to keep digging while I preach the coming revolution to the skeptics. By the time the ice melts, the whole tribe is addicted to the magic of the soil. I watch the constellations. When the warmth hits, I give the signal. They obey with blind faith. Rows of tilled mud line the bank, each holding a future they cannot yet comprehend. Sowing is easy. Survival costs more sweat, water, slaying pests, and endless grueling labor. Even with my guidance, their first attempt at playing God is a total disaster of failure. Left alone, they would have starved for 50 years before cracking the secrets I just gave them. As I teach, my power shifts. I taste the sap in every stalk, sensing every drought. Without touching a shovel, I dominate the world through them with cold surgical precision. 6 months later, the earth ruptures, golden stalks of grain appear, and the tribe goes wild. Led by the kids, an army of families rushes down to claim the shimmering prize. It looks like ancient wheat, but the grains are tiny hearts packed with pure sunlight. For the clan, everything changes today. They aren't scavengers anymore. They are the new masters. Tiemu stares at the gold, his face lit with a terrifying joy. More life remains buried. He sees the vision now, a world where famine is dead and the tribe grows fat. Hunting is over. Tiemu sees Shoa's arrogant grin and asks, "Well, boy, missed the trail yet?" Shoa laughs. "Uncle, the Great Wood is a deity. This isn't just food, it's a miracle." Tiemu bows deeply, feeling the weight. A gift from above. We'll never fear the winter again. Tai's eyes gleam with greed. "Let's clear the entire forest. Plant every inch. Rule it all." Tiemu nods, his voice low. "Right, but first we pay back the one who fed us." "Blood and tribute for the tree," Shoa says, snapping to attention. "Of course, uncle." They prep the altar. Then Shoa stops looking up. Uncle's sacred tree sounds small, weak. Temu's face darkens, suddenly protective. "Watch your mouth, you ungrateful little brat." Shoa brushes it off, eyes full of ego. "No, listen, it's too humble. It needs to scream." "Not big enough," Tiemu thinks. "What is holier than the thing that saved their lives? What name is greater? Speak, or I'll bury you in the field you just plowed." Shoa winces, his ego finally hitting a wall as he hunts for a title of power. Tiemu is livid, but I remain unmoved. "Uncle, a single title haunted my thoughts at the source. The decision is finalized," I mutter. He presses me. God. That heavy word suffocates the silence. Their vocabulary is insufficient, so I manifest a jagged divine memory from my deepest history. Shoa's gaze ignites. The Supreme Master, the entity clutching the world's final dying gasp. "The root earned that title," Tiemu snarls, his expression hardening with a grim sudden resolve. "This timber is our sovereign." They pledge to unveil this deity during the midnight ceremony. Tiemu takes the lead, consumed by a sacrificial rite that eclipses every ancient tribal law. They butcher a massive bull, piling meat and grain beneath my sprawling wooden limbs. As the clan gathers, Tiemu drops to his knees, drenching the soil in gore and harvest. A final offering, leaving the entire carcass, proves how desperate his fanatical worship has become. Tiemu orchestrates their frantic collective scream for divine intervention. Seeing their bursting storehouses, the people realize every mouthful was a gift of my charity. Skepticism dies. A searing absolute obsession has burrowed into every single villager's soul. The spiritual explosion from this single night shames a decade of shallow, empty chanting. A surge of pure life force strikes my center, making my very consciousness howl in agony. Amidst the dying embers, Tiemu bellows, "Forget the root, today we worship our true Lord." I am paralyzed. That specific name. I know Shoa's hands crafted this religious snare. He manipulated the situation, but I resisted. I never craved this crushing global responsibility. It is gospel now. Attempting to correct them would be like fighting a Category 5 hurricane. Without this name, they would invent another. I will simply ride the tide of their zeal. God is far too vague. If I must be a deity, call me the Sylvan King. My roar fractures the sky, their shouting transforms into a rhythmic thunder. Sylvan King. A new era begins. Agriculture has finally ended the brutal cycle of winter starvation. Over many seasons, I leak power into the soil, forcing the wheat to grow thick. Using their devotion, I engineered a ghost grain that matures in the blink of an eye. Weapons became tools. Survival was no longer a gamble, just a lush, predictable pattern. I commanded them to cage mountain wolves, taming wild hearts to the fire's warm edge. 5 years later, 230 souls live here. This settlement is now a citadel. A larger flock creates a larger tide. My spiritual wells are overflowing with cosmic radiance. On a reckless whim, I flood my core with every ounce of that hoarded fire. I was finished with being a cage. When that spark ignited my cells, reality fractured. An explosive, violent surge. I had been a decaying relic for 100 years entombed. This one insane gamble shattered the seal, launching my frame, screaming toward the stars. My bark shreds as I expand. Roots tunnel like serpents, while my top stabs the heavens. I surge from 50 to 100 meters, a timber titan, dwarfing the mountain peaks. I am enormous now. 8 men linking hands couldn't even hope to encircle my trunk. Within 15 minutes, the earth-shattering birth of my new form flattens every tribal hut. They scramble outside, witnessing a mountain of wood rip through the heavy cloud layer. Total silence. They are staring at a miracle that incinerates every law they ever understood. Tiemu sprints forward, slamming into the mud in a blur of religious fever and terror. At 100 meters, the spark inside him fractures. An emerald sun explodes from him. A shimmering phantom of my massive body forged from light rises behind him in unison. Despite all this new mess, I feel every tiny vibration throughout the entire valley. I look at the ritual fire burning below and finally grasp the horror of this. Tiemu's soul is no longer his own. He's merely a shadow of me. My soul's quiet thrumming just exploded into a violent, gut-wrenching roar. This vicious transformation ripped through him, shattering his entire sense of self. Light returns as he recovers, but pure terror is etched into his gaze. My tribe huddles together, staring at me with a silence that feels like lead. Seeing their god mutate has left them frozen minds blank with sheer panic. I call it fate, and their collective horror suddenly shifts into an eerie calm. They offer prayers, then vanish, leaving the man solitary beneath my massive shadow. He doubts this newfound strength, so I validate every terrifying thought he has. Music. Primordial energy surges when he clenches his hand, challenging the very air. Then he drops the bomb. Could I share this gift with everyone? Music. I look for signs of hunger, but see only a man trying to survive. He hates being the only wall, but I meet his anger with cold silence. Maybe these breakable humans possess a spark I never noticed before. Showing them how to plant and live has been my whole world for years. I demand he wait, and he backs off, shaking with pure, unadulterated rage. In isolation, I dig deep to find where this mutation actually started. Music, towering over 100 meters high, makes me an impossible target to miss. Miles out, trackers on a sharp mountain ridge freeze in their tracks. One guy glimpses a giant emerald spire piercing right through the empty sky. The branches spread so wide, they look just like a massive looming peak. He grabs his buddy, certain that he's finally lost his damn mind. His partner laughs until he lays eyes on that green monstrosity. There is no ignoring it. Their entire reality just got wrecked by something huge. That thing is brand new. They have to alert the leader immediately. They drop their prey and whistle for their green-skinned snakes. Deadly serpents coil around their necks, practically tasting the panic in the air. They race down the mountainside, chests pounding with a terrifying rhythm. Looking back, the cliff edge finally blocks out that giant entity. Scared they are just seeing things, they climb back up for one last look. After realizing it is real, they tear off to scream the warning.